Welcome to today's 406 Tech Talk, where we have a special guest, Shondell Krumhauer, who's from Billings Senior High, and we're going to be talking today about all things Google. Hey, Shondell.
Hi, Desiree. Hi, Ann.
Hi. How are you?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Good. So, Shondell, you're a technology integration specialist like us, but you get to stay in one building.
I do.
And stay warm.
I like how she says get to.
I get to. I do. I do.
It's an opportunity for you. So, as a technology integration specialist, can you kind of share with us what is a typical day for you?
Basically, a typical day for me is anything but typical. Every day is something different. And since we are lucky enough in the high schools to have had technology coming in for the last 3 years, my job kind of changes seasonally. In the fall, a lot of it is just deploying the new equipment and getting things where they need to go. We have 2 techs in our building and me, and I do kind of piggyback off of them just to start the ball rolling. And then, you know, by the time we're a month or 2 in, I am in the classrooms with teachers. That's my primary goal, at least. I like to get my hands in the classroom and work with the students and help the teachers implement the technology that they have into their lessons. I also do staff training, PIR type development stuff, and I guess I just kind of try to fit the bill that I need.
Right, right. And, you know, Ann and I are K-12, or Ann's K-8, I'm K-12, and what you said there is that goal is to get into the classroom with the teachers and work with them. I think that's really
I felt at the beginning, I like that you said that it was kind of a seasonal thing, because when we first started, I thought, this isn't what I thought that I would be doing in this job, because we were mounting projectors and we were installing software, and I felt like that was a lot more techie than what I'm a teacher. And so now, though, that stuff is kind of in place, we can actually take what we've done hardware-wise and software-wise and put it into a more curriculum, because we know that background. So it was actually really helpful. But it's good to know it changes.
It is, absolutely. And I mean, I kind of feel like if the equipment isn't in the rooms, then there's not a need for me yet. So I do like to expedite the process of getting what is needed into where it's needed.
Yep.
And I think it's great that the integration specialists have a relationship with the tech support people, because really it is a partnership to make everything work together. So that's exciting.
And that's another thing. I'm lucky enough in my building that I do work with both of our techs very closely. So if a teacher has a problem, sometimes it is a collaboration between the background, what makes something work, which is not my specialty, and what it's supposed to do for the teacher or for the student. And so having that camaraderie is very helpful.
Yeah.
Kind of the go-between between the techie side and the teaching side. That's
And
nice.
prior to being the technology integration specialist, I taught at senior for 10 years. So I feel like that's an integral part of this job.
Right.
It's different than just making it work. It's making it make sense, and you know, allowing the technology to do the job of enhancing the education.
And truthfully, none of us would be here if it weren't for that end user, which in our case is the kids, the students.
Absolutely.
So, and Shondell is also one of our cadre facilitators. So as we're talking about Google today, we use Google a lot in planning cadre.
Oh, gosh. Yeah.
We use Google a lot in everything.
What would we do without Google?
We would be on the phone a lot more. So when we're planning for cadre, we start a Google Doc, 6 cadre facilitators that come from different districts and different buildings in our district and different grade emphasis. And then we start with a document and we brainstorm on that, really just kind of throwing things willy-nilly out there. And as we talk, how does that document evolve for us?
Well, I think it starts with an idea that is often not the idea that we go with in the end, which I think is the cool thing about the planning document that we use, because we have the ability to have 6 people generating ideas for it, and we can piggyback off of each other and really you know, feed off of each other's ideas. I think that planning document allows us the physical space to kind of throw our ideas down as we are discussing.
one thing that I would add on to that, when we're saying document, for somebody who's never really dug into Google Documents, when you think document, you might think of opening up a document in Word where you have essentially a white piece of paper on your screen that you can type on. But with a Google document, it's not only that, you can share and collaborate with multiple people at the same time. So you're sitting here like this, and someone is typing on your screen, and you can see the letters forming there. All 6 of us or 12 of us or however many people of us at once can be working on the same piece of paper, so to speak.
Right.
It's very cool.
Yeah, and the fact that we can use Google Docs to not only plan and brainstorm, but then we can clean all of that up once we've got the final agenda for Cadre, and we can actually publish that document to the web as a web page with 2 steps, really. Publish this document to the web, and it's ready to go. So I just think it's fabulous, and as we know, free really makes it nice.
Yep.
And it's live. So once we publish that web page, if we have to change something on our agenda or adapt it in any way, it's live. It's automatically there. It's a 2-step and done process. It's not an ongoing publishing process.
And this is looking at it from one point of view as we use it in Cadre. So when our end users, the attendees of the Cadre, see it, they see the changes that we made, and it's live for them. But you can take that and apply it in a classroom setting in a whole new, fresh way that looks kind of the same, but is kid-friendly.
Right.
We do that all the time at the high school level. I have teachers that have documents that classes are working on throughout a semester. They are building resources to publish out, and they use Google Docs for most of that.
Yep.
That's amazing. And I think in our school district, what's really great is Google for Education is available now K-12, and we have classrooms right now that I've been working with. For an example, last week I was in Katie Pala's 3rd grade classroom introducing her students to the word processing part of Google Drive, and it was their very first adventure into it. So we did a project where they were writing some sentences on what they were thankful for, I think or their favorite things, It was a document on their favorite things, and they did a fabulous job with it. Introducing kids at the primary grades to word processing and writing and typing and editing, I think is pretty valuable.
And there's so many advantages besides the free part to doing something like this on Google, because before, when I taught 4th grade and I would want my students to write a report in a document, we had to check out the lab, they had to turn it on, they had to launch Word, they each had to get on and type their thing. Hopefully you would teach them to save and the power wouldn't go out or the computer wouldn't crash. Because we have a software on those older computers called Deep Freeze, whatever they worked on, as soon as they shut down, it was gone. It would wipe it out. So we had to teach them how to get onto the server, save the document to the server. It was a very time-consuming process, and something a lot of us didn't want to do because it was just so cumbersome. Now, it automatically saves. They can get on it. I've had kids go on vacation and work on a Google document.
And the other thing you mentioned, or I guess I should mention, is it depended on the platform they were using.
Yes.
We had Windows XP, we had Macs, and we had Windows 7 computers. So saving to the server was different on every single machine. And in Windows 7, if they thought they were saving, it really wasn't there. So Google Docs, I think, also, as a teacher, allows me to really have my hands on what my kids are doing. When I was teaching the research process, my kids did everything in Google Docs. I was basically available to them 24/7. So if they had questions, I could read what they were doing. I could comment, add ideas in there, help them, formulate their thoughts and maybe organize them. And it was all there. So if they were on vacation, if they were, if they have their phone and they have a connection, they could work on their papers on their phone, which kids want to do.
Right. I'm glad you brought that up, because we've been talking about in the 406 Tech Talk, we want to bring up my favorite tool, my favorite app, and one of my favorite apps on my iPad is Google Drive.
On my phone, I have it on my phone.
Yeah, so I think that's wonderful. And you were in a classroom recently that was, you were working with the class.
Yep, I've actually been, and we've all been out in the classroom, so we haven't even had a chance to talk much, but what I did was develop a 5-part teaching series on the Google suite for students, their Google Drive, where all those documents that they're going to create, or maybe already have created because their teachers are so excited about it, are filed kind of in like a little digital filing cabinet.
I've used all of those at the high school level. A lot of times with teachers, we will have the kids set up a folder for that specific class, so they know that to turn in assignments, when they're ready for their teacher to see it, they can put it in that folder. And that's, I mean, we've got many classrooms at senior high that have essentially gone paperless because they use Google.
And so one of the, as you were mentioning, one of the classes I've gone into, Tana Robinson, her 4th grade class, that's where they are. And so I'm showing them that process, and we went and set up the drive and the folders so they could turn papers in. And then this week we did presentations. So we have a quick little video to show you of how that looks in Tana's room and what she has to say about it. I have had the great fortune to be invited into the 4th grade classroom of Tana Robinson, teacher extraordinaire at Poly Drive Elementary School. Tana's class, with their one-to-one sets of Chromebooks, were interested in learning about the features and the tools in their D2 or Google accounts. Of course, I was thrilled to show them.
So we've had the fortune of having Mrs. Brecker come in and help our 4th grade students, we have 26 of them, get familiar with their Chromebooks. So she's taught them how to do email. We went on and looked at the Google Drive component. She set up folders with them to organize just like their assignment notebook is, with all the subjects and how to post assignments in there and to share them with me. So I think we'll get a lot of benefit out of that as we get rolling with all these different projects. Today she's in here creating Google presentations with the kids that we're going to take to Lead 21 with our inquiry projects. And the kids are super excited about uploading videos and pictures and changing their font and adding animation.
What do you think about this whole Google shared presentation thing?
I think it's really fun
Why?
because you get to decorate and do your thing. And when you're done, you can just look at other people's stuff and other stuff.
One definite advantage to the Google tools is their ability to help your classroom become paperless, a fact which teachers like Mrs. Robinson definitely appreciate.
We're really trying to go paperless here at Poly just because printing cartridges cost so much money and paper, and honestly I'm tired of pushing paper. The whole world is online. I mean, I just think that them being able to submit all their projects to me where I can look at them at home, at recess, in the car, just wherever. I mean, the opportunities are endless for the benefits of submitting without paper and just them being digitized. I think it's interesting because you see that sharing aspect it's in every career that these kids are going to go into. So to start that in 4th grade and to have them be actually able to work on a project together and have success, and if they don't have success, figure out those bumps on their own and figure out how to collaborate together is going to be huge.
So we were talking about how Google Docs has been used in the elementary classroom, in primary and intermediate, and Shondell, you've talked about how it's being used at senior high in those classrooms. I wanted to share with you guys an activity that one of the teachers that's in our TILT staff development program, Bobby Poser, who teaches health enhancement at the middle school level, is actually using a feature that is part of Google Drive, but it's not the word processing. In Google Drive, you can actually add apps. And one of the apps that she discovered and is using to create public service announcements for her health class is called Powtoon. And I had never heard of it. She discovered it and she was teaching me how to use it. And Powtoon is a cartoon creation tool that allows you to basically write a story. So it's a digital storytelling tool. And we have a video of Bobby. She did modeling of a public service announcement on a health issue, how to quit smoking.
So that was a great use of that interesting technology. And teachers are finding things all the time. And part of that is TILT, the Teachers Integrating and Learning Technology. They come to a professional development and then they leave and they take that curiosity that they've got and they go and find things. So yesterday I walked in on Desiree's high school TILT group with my camera in my hand and I got a lot of dirty looks.
You did.
But what I wanted to know was at that level of high school, not just professionally, but also personally. How has Google changed what you do? How do you use Google in your real life, and how do you use Google in your classroom? And here's what they had to say.
I use Google constantly, literally. There's probably never a day that I don't Google something multiple times, either personally or professionally.
Well, our department in Skyview, we use Google to create our formative assessment, seeing where our students struggle with certain issues, and then being able to modify our teaching based on those test scores.
So I use the Google Drive calendar. I create a calendar for my students. It helps me for lesson planning, so I can move things around and kind of adjust my lesson plans, and then it helps the students, if they're gone, they know what they missed. They can go onto my website, go to the calendar, and get caught up really easily.
I'm part-time at Skyview 2 days a week, and then I also have another job. So luckily the calendar is there to separate the different facets of my life.
Have been using Google Drive a lot, so they can just type their papers and then they can just email them to me. They actually think it's kind of cool to email them to me, and they think it's kind of fun to email their teacher.
Personally, I use it. I was super excited about getting an iPhone. My husband and I, we can share our Google calendars now, so we know what's going on and we don't have conflicting events scheduled. So that's been really nice on a personal level.
I use Google a lot more for professional collaboration, where we'll make like an assessment, or we'll make assignments that meet the Common Core standards and share them among the math staff at the school I teach at.
In our math department, we collaborate a lot, kind of like Chrissy was telling us. And we share documents, we share tests, we share assessments, we share a lot of tests and assessments, we share homework or ideas or lesson plans, and so it's really helpful to be able to edit those, share those, create those together.
And then in my own classroom, phasing out completely, turning in physical copies of paper, saving a few for us along the way.
They also do a lot of presentations now. Instead of the old PowerPoints, they can just do presentations on their Google Drive, and they can access it in all the different classrooms.
Google Forms I just used after a meeting at Skyview, because I used Nearpod to do the help with faculty meeting, and I sent out a quick survey, just yes or no, did you think that was helpful? And I probably had 35 responses back within 15 minutes.
The students themselves, they don't see the red pen anymore. When they get to talk to you and converse with you and conference with you online, they think it's kind of their language, and it's not threatening to them, and they're more willing to engage in the process. And honestly, it's just good it's a time saver for you as a teacher. It's good for the earth. Stop chopping down forests. So.
They were a great group, the high school group. Good sports.
I love that group.
Yep,
Yeah.
good sports. And I love a good sport in general, and that's why we are going to interview right now live with one of our Google tools, our free Google tools, a Hangout, a Google Hangout with Karen Palmer. So let me get that started real quick. Hi!
Hi!
So we were hoping you would talk to us about Google, and how did the district end up going to Google, and how does it save us money, and why did we get the apps that we ended up with, and just whatever you want to say about Google.
I started doing some research, and at that time we were running Microsoft Exchange. We had 3 servers in the district that took care of all the different pieces and parts of it. And so what we really had to look at is, okay, how much do the licenses cost us, not only for Microsoft Exchange, but for the client software like Microsoft Outlook, and back then it was Entourage. Then we had to look at what is the electricity costing us to run those servers. What about overtime? So if we have to do updates to the servers, or if we have to do maintenance, or if the servers go down, we need to have people come in and at night or on the weekends to work on them. And once we put everything together, we figured that we would save about $250,000 over 3 years by going to Google.
That's amazing.
So the next step was, is it for real? Because everything I read said Google for Education is free, and I couldn't figure out why or how they could afford to do that. And I ended up talking with Google directly, and they explained that their founders graduated from Stanford. They were very grateful to the education community. They started Google with a grant from Stanford, so they wanted to pay back in a good way the education that they received and the advantages that they received as part of their education. And then they realized we're a global company, so we don't want to do something that's just local to Stanford.
Right.
We'd like to do something that can affect people in all parts of the world, and that's when they decided to make Google Apps for education absolutely free.
Wow.
When we started, everybody got 7 gigs of space for their email, which was huge because we were only giving them a teeny tiny piece of that. By now, we're up to 30 gigs.
Wow.
So they
Per
give
user.
that for every user free.
Yeah.
And that's for every user in the district, or? Wow.
Yes, that's for every user in the district.
That's amazing.
That it's free.
Yeah.
And
And does that include for our students as well?
Yes.
Wow.
It's been an amazing transformation for us because a couple of things. We're seeing, we all see the same screens no matter what we look at. So if we are looking at email, whether we're at home, whether at work, we're on a PC, a Mac, a Chromebook, it all looks the same. And that was the first time we were able to do that because prior to that, we had to have different clients, and some were on this one and some were on that one, and some were on an old version, some were on a new version, and so now everybody has the same thing. We're also able to take advantage of any changes they make. So if they release a new feature, we can adopt it right away, and we don't have to say, hey, your servers are going to be down for the next 2 days while we apply this update and get things running.
Right.
So they offer free tech support. We've called and used it. They're
That's
very
amazing.
good.
Yeah.
So it's been a great change for us. We now don't have to really worry about email, calendar, contacts. Those just work. And then since then, we've really seen it change a lot of the classroom integration because it's so much collaboration that can go on with Google.
And it's, as technology integration specialists, I would say for us, it's a lot easier to teach when it looks the same, whether you're using a Mac lab or Chromebook lab or a set of PCs or whatever it is. The fact that it always looks the same, it makes it a lot easier to teach it.
Absolutely.
To teachers and to kids.
Yeah.
Well, and that
The
goes.
great thing too is that when kids go home, if they have a
That's what I was
computer
going
or
to
if
say. Yeah. Good job.
grandma has a computer or they go to the library, it looks the same for them as well. So they can do their homework from anywhere that has an internet connected computer.
So it's the best non-investment we've ever made, right?
Exactly.
So would you mind speaking just a little bit about your new adventure?
Well, at the end of the month, I'm going to be moving to Missoula, and I'm going to work for a company called LMG Security in Missoula, and I will be their Director of Forensics and Education / IT Services. Digital forensics, the best way I can describe it is it's like archaeology without all of the dirt and hot sun. So you get into the hardware and you dig out artifacts. Then I'll be doing a lot of training for them as well, but primarily working in the labs with the digital forensics.
So at some point we may see Karen Palmer, CSI, right?
Yeah, I'm thinking I need a lab coat or something. I don't know.
Oh.
Yes, definitely, to keep you out of the hot sun.
Right.
Well, thank you on behalf of all 5 people who might be watching this later for what you've done for our district and for the implementation of Google and saving us money and for all of the vast array of things that you've done. We appreciate everything you do and hope you love your new job as much as we've loved having you.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that.
And thanks for hanging out with us, too.
You're welcome.
Okay.
All right.
Bye. Oh, Karen, we're going to miss her so much.
I love
Absolutely.
Karen. And I think people just have no idea the impact that she has made on our district, and we are going to miss her so much.
Yep.
But we are very excited for her and her new adventure.
It sounds fun, and it sounds right up her alley.
It does, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yep.
So we've been talking about sharing all of these documents and cluttering up our Google Drive with all these shared resources and files. And I think a lot of people aren't aware that you can actually hide documents from your home screen in the Drive environment. So if you're working on a project, you've completed it, but you don't necessarily want to see those files,
Or delete it.
or delete them,
Right.
you can actually select files and hide them from your view. So we have a short video on that skill, so we'd like to show you that as well. I often get asked, why do I see all of these documents on my screen when I go into my Google Docs environment? And how can I get those documents to not show up? But even though I've got them in a collection, I've got them organized, they're still showing up on this home screen. How do I get those out of my home screen and keep them organized into a collection? Well, those steps are really easy. So let me just show you quickly how you can take a collection of documents and have them not show up on your home screen, but actually just be referenced in the collection that you've chosen for them. For this example, I'm going to do this action on the file called Writing Assignment. And if you will look to the right of Writing Assignment, you can see that it is organized into a collection called Tutorials. If I don't want Writing Assignment to show up on my home screen, but only show up when I click on the collection called Tutorials, I simply need to click in the selection box to the left of the document, and then come to the top where my options buttons are showing, click on More, and then say, Don't Show in Home. Notice that the file, Writing Assignment, is no longer showing when I click on Home. So let's just double check that. Click on Home. There's no longer a document called Writing Assignment. Remember, I organized Writing Assignment into the collection called Tutorials. So if I click on that, there's my Writing Assignment. So it's really easy to have things not show up in your home screen. And don't forget, from previous tutorials, you can select multiple items by holding down that Shift key and then go to your More Options menu and choose Don't Show in Home. You can really organize your Google Docs in a way that works for you just by knowing that one little trick.
Okay, as you know, every week we have a contest, and those of you who have been watching our show, some of you have been lucky enough to win various prizes, and
Right.
I think they've been pretty good prizes.
They've been great.
Our contest this week is going to be around Google, and on your screen is a website to go to, a Google form that we created to collect some information just so you could see what a Google form looks like. The information will come with us, or come to us, and when that information is in on Sunday, after the airing of this show, we will take all of the names of everybody who has the bravery to answer our form, put your names into a random drawing, and select a winner for a prize. So please make sure that you go to the form, answer some questions, and win a prize.
Absolutely. Shondell, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
It was great to have you here.
Thanks.
And we always look forward to working with you.
Absolutely. Likewise.
Come back anytime. And we should say Shelly's in Vegas right now at
yeah.
a conference, so I'm sure Shelly would tell you goodbye and have a great week too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.